Right. We're live. We're live.
Right.
Welcome to another Lunchtime Live, a little bit later on a Friday afternoon than what I have been doing these. And rather than me sitting here just talking to a camera in a room by myself, I've asked Tristan Sternson from Arq Group to come along and have a chat with me. Thank you, Tristan, for joining me.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on, James. It's good.
That's all right. That's all right. For anyone that might be catching this on the live or on the replay, let us know where you are, and if you've got any questions for Tristan in particular, or me, but probably Tristan, given he's the guest, drop them in, and we'll try and get to them a little bit later on. But I guess first off, Tristan, I reached out to you to ask if you would join me here on the live, particularly the last few weeks. You've been posting some really interesting stuff on LinkedIn, different bits and pieces that Arq is up to. Can you maybe just start with what is Arq? And you're the CEO of Arq Group, but what is Arq and what do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So Arq Group is we call it a digital end-to-end sort of transformation company. So what we're techies. We look at digital technology and how that can be applied to different areas of businesses, people's lives, governments, etc. So that, when I break it down, is kind of it's digital, it's mobile, websites, design, artificial intelligence, chatbots, and things like that. It's data and analytics. Data and analytics being everything from kind of capturing data and what to do with it, storing it, moving it, etc., and the whole way to analysing it and doing the analytics on the front end, normal analysis, so that's kind of data sciencey sort of stuff. And then cloud, so how we host it, how we support it, and how we can make it accessible to technology to people, so it's kind of available when they need it and it can make an impact. And Arq Group's main purpose is to make an impact on the way that people work, live, everything, a positive impact on that. And digital tech is big in that, and that's all the stuff that we've been posting a lot of over the last few weeks.
Yeah, it's been some interesting stuff. And so I guess if we go back, like I've known you for a little while now and kind of followed your journey along for a while. Every time I catch up with you, there's always something different that's going on. You're always up to something else, which is quite interesting. But if we maybe go back a bit, you spoke about kind of the data and the analytics.
Yeah,
that's kind of where you started, really. Would that be right?
So I started InfoReady, which was back in 2009. So interestingly, we started InfoReady just out of the GFC, or in the GFC.
Yeah.
And then we started, and I'll talk about the rebirth of Arq, which started kind of in the pandemic of COVID-19. So so I don't know if I time it well or poorly, or I'm not sure what the situation is, but it's good for Australian companies anyway. We started as a data analytics company. That was my background. Data tech in the past. Built that company up from kind of myself, and then over time 2 partners came in. We built that up to just over 120 odd people. Sold that into Melbourne IT, and everyone will know Melbourne IT famously as kind of the domain name company. 25 years of history since bringing the internet to Australia and first domain names, etc. Quite a successful IPO out of RMIT and Melbourne Uni back in the .com boom.
Right. Is that where it goes back to? Yeah,
it goes all the way back there. Yeah, and then and they have 2 parts to the business. Also Melbourne IT had 2 parts to the business. It rebranded itself as Arq a couple of years ago, and had 2 predominant businesses, kind of what we call like a mass market, small to medium business, which kind of lots of clients, lots of domain names for lots of size of companies, and then the enterprise side. And last year we split the 2, and enterprise we bought back in February this year, and kind of split that off, and that focuses on kind of the top end of town, like big corporates, big government departments, kind of medium-sized businesses as well. Whereas the other side was really focused on the smaller side of town, but very similar DNA in that both companies kind of, was one company split off into 2, but the DNA behind it is the first at everything. That's kind of what we've done. First Australian company to first domain names initially, and then the first mobile apps in Australia, and the first data analytics solutions, first chatbots, first of everything. So some of the stuff we're doing is kind of leading, and there's always been an Australian tech company that's been doing that, and we've predominantly been that the whole way through. So so InfoReady started that. We sold into Melbourne IT kind of 5 years ago now, 2016, and just after they acquired another company called Outwear Mobile, which is a big part of what the Arq Group is today, Outwear InfoReady and the old Melbourne IT.
So is that with app development? Is that what they are?
App development, yeah. So if you've traveled, most of two of the four big banks, Qantas's apps, a lot of the transport apps, road apps, most of the apps that we probably use every day were built by Outwear originally and still are, and also a lot of websites now as well. So that's integrated. We call that part digital, call the InfoReady part sort of data analytics, and we call the Melbourne IT part cloud. We put them all together for some pretty cool solutions. So
with kind of the data analytics part, is that where you're working as an employee before you went out to decide to do it yourself? Like what caused that? Like why'd you go from being an employee to trying to do it yourself? What was the trigger point there?
Yeah, interesting. So my career, I've always wanted to do something myself. So even in like the university days, my friends would laugh because we went through the 2000 era, and was at uni during the Y2K bug, and I was like, I'll make a business out of this, and I went around to people's houses and I installed Symantec 2000, whatever it was, and bug was a flop, but I made a few dollars off it. But it was a good business. I was helping people kind of install the software which would save their computers from doom and gloom, which was meant to happen. And then we sold PCs. I did a few bits and pieces. So I always had a bit of a hustle on to kind of have my own businesses, and had a bit of a career path. And always thought 10 years of learning from the best, and then I'll go off and do something. And one of my first jobs was with Dodo Internet under Larry Kesselman and Michael Slapoy at the time, and that was an eye opener. I think Larry was 35 at the time he started Dodo and took that to an absolute empire. And you can see what's happening now. And so that was something that kind of bit of inspiration. It's a good kickoff job, and then went off and did the big corporate kind of consulting gigs to learn what I'll do. I fell into data, and kind of I think at Dodo I was the database analyst because I had done a couple of subjects at university in databases, so that went from there to database analyst. That started with PwC as a graduate because I knew databases. I became a data warehouse person. And then at Accenture, I became like the head of the data and analytics piece, and then I moved on. So I kind of fell into data, but always had that kind of entrepreneurial piece of wanting to start something up. So the timing kind of fell nicely together as well.
Yeah, and then the sale of InfoReady into what was Melbourne IT back then. Like how did that come about? Like, were they looking? Were you looking? Like how did that come together?
Yeah, there are points in markets. Particularly in the tech space where there's a lot of consolidation. So I would say around that time, there was a lot of consolidation. I think 2 or 3 of our major competitors like us all got bought at the same time by competitors. Melbourne IT was subscribing to a model called CAMS, Cloud Analytics, Mobile, Social Security. And that's what we now call digital. So they were looking for a data and analytics firm. And so they'd approached us. We'd been approached by quite a few different companies, and we had an advisor come on and help us go through that process. And it was a really good fit, like right type of culture, right type of people, right sort of direction forward. And interesting to look back at our competitors from back at that time and where they've all landed. And it's funny how a lot of the time you hear about acquisitions, but everyone actually has ended up where they kind of belong, right? It's like that company got bought by them. Well, that's perfect. They're a consulting firm and they sit really nicely in as partners there. And we're techies at heart, and we're in a techie company, and that was what we set out to start initially. So it's really cool.
Yeah, and then so a couple of years or so in the listed world, and then you've kind of moved back out, as you said before, separated. Is that working well for you? But do you personally have a preference one way or the other, where you would rather be sitting?
Yeah, look, I always wanted to run a publicly listed company. I've got a few things on my bucket list of businesses of what I wanted to do. And we sold InfoReady, had an earn-out period. Anyway, it was kind of probably earlier last year. I wasn't doing all that much in the business. I had a lot of other ventures on and stuff that I was trying to start up, and I was advising Melbourne IT and helping them at the time and working with the CEO and others in the business to kind of help them grow that part of the business, the enterprise part particularly. And then I was, a few ventures overseas in the US, got involved in everything, including medicinal and recreational cannabis in California. And an app in Australia and stuff like that, and fast growing market. Actually replicates the .com boom really clearly. Like if you map history of the cycles, like the first wave, everyone was like, yep, we've got to get into these cannabis stocks, and they go up and then crash, and then the real wave of stocks come up. The Amazons and Facebooks that came in the second wave of the .com. That's happening now with cannabis. So we got a bit involved in that, in some technology behind it. And I think it was kind of end of September last year where kind of got the call from the board from Arq Group at the time to step in and kind of help with take over as the CEO of the Arq Group as a listed entity at the time. And that kind of ticked my box of publicly listed CEO. So went in and did that. And look, I enjoyed it. I think it's in any of these businesses, you got stakeholders, and it doesn't matter if they're, you got lots of them in a public market or in a private market. Sometimes it's easy on the public, depending on who your stakeholders are in the private. Unless it's just yourself, then then it's then you've got to you're accountable for whatever you do, and you got to make sure you keep well. Was definitely interesting and a bit of fun, and a lot of there was some good and bad times in it. But I don't know which I prefer, to be honest. It's good to be able to grow a business, do it well, and and be able to have stakeholders that generate success for them. And I think that's really that drives me. That's just beyond yourself. If you can make other people successful through the process, that's useful. So so I've enjoyed both.
Drives even more. Yeah. Okay. Nice. And then so Arq Group at the moment. So COVID's, as you said, kind of the business as it stands at the moment, kind of born out of the COVID environment that we're going through at the moment. Has that kind of meant that you guys are thinking about different things or developing different things for whatever world looks like out the other side of this? Like, can you share any of that? What's going on?
Look, there's this, what is it? Churchill says, make the most of a crisis, or so always make the most of it. So that's what we do absolutely every day. We look at it and we say, well, COVID's hit. It's terrible, obviously, and we're all stuck in our houses and bedrooms and studies and wherever we are and doing what we do. But exactly. And we took it as an opportunity from our end to kind of say, okay, team, well, what do we need? Like, this is a new digital world. Like, where can we drive this to? And we've got an emerging technology team that just sit there looking at tech and ideas around how things are changing, which is why we can always be the first to things. So we looked at it, we challenged the team and said, what can we build that will change and help people get back to work? And we just launched our we call it back to living products, which are everything from how you travel on train transport with artificial intelligence to kind of look at a platform and say, there's overcrowding, text someone because they know they're traveling towards a train and say, take a couple extra minutes. You don't want to get onto this platform because it's crowded and it's going to be, you're not going to be able to stand within your 1.5 meters. Or we've got one for the workspace. We've got these digital humans, and we call them digital humans rather than chatbots because I could be a digital human right now. That's how good the quality is. In fact, in some instances, we've had to ask, so we partner with a company on it to do it, but who actually build the avatars behind it, or the humans. We've actually had to ask them to tone down the kind of the facial expressions because they're so real, it freaks people out. They've got it to absolute perfection, right? And you look at them and you go, I don't know if I'm talking to a human or a person, but stuff like that. So they're helping with like contactless receptions, contactless customer experience in shops, where you've got to kind of use a screen or a person over a web or something like that. So we've got a whole bunch of these things that we're rolling out. We've got a digital turnstile which counts people in and out of shops, and kind of if you're walking around a shopping centre, can allow you to kind of shop and get notified that the shop's ready for you and stuff. So we put the challenge to our team all the time, and we did the same thing during the fire season last year. It's like, what can we do to improve people's lives post the devastating fires? And same thing happened. We set a challenge, did a hackathon, people came out with solutions, and then we rolled some of them out. And that's kind of the way our team's kind of inspired and driven.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I just there's Mina has been watching, so a guy by the name of Mina. He's in New South Wales. He often tunes in when I go live, and he's got a question here, and I half suspect you're probably behind this, but he said, what do you think of the new AI system the government is trying to implement? I'm not quite sure what he's referring to there, but like, you were on the news the other day about this, spacing on the platform stuff.
Yeah.
Is that all artificial intelligence? Is that what that's?
It is. It might be referred. There was an article in the FINRA Review, might have been 2 days ago, or it might have been today, actually. I can't remember, but it talks about the government putting in a lot more artificial intelligence. But I think AI is such a big area. So it's not one area of government. So they're investing heavily in it. And that can be anything from, the ATO been using it for years to kind of siphon through documents and interpret them and stuff like that, all the way through to using it for track and tracing and for things like in health and human services and stuff like that as well. There's a lot of different applications of it, and I actually think the governments, different governments run it differently. Unfortunately, at the moment, most states do things independently and not federally. And I think that, and there's reasons for that too, like different funding, different jurisdictions, different ways of doing it. But take one government initiative, which is a rural fire service and the fires near me stuff that we did. There's AI that's going into the back of that to try and predict. Hopefully, we'll try and build out something that can predict where fires are going to go, so you can take things to the next level. Which is an example of, like, with the transport stuff, we can kind of use that to kind of read and interpret what's going on and tell people, predict patterns and trends and stuff like that. So it's a big investment in Australia. We're investing, and it's not just in people to build it out, it's the skills behind it. And that's a huge topic at the moment. Like, we've just launched a program with Swinburne University around.
I was going to ask about that.
We've offered every one of our staff to go through a degree in digital business, effectively digital business information management, which allows people to kind of cross-skill, so data, cloud, analytics, whatever, anyone in our business, because we need to build those skills out. So we want more people doing analytics and more people doing mobile development or web development or anything like that. So that's the key message I think that they're trying to succeed. And we've always been smart and at the forefront of technology in Australia. We just got to kind of, race with it now and build the skills out, rather than trying to import the skills into the country, which is something we've kind of done more of as well.
Yeah, and so is that Swinburne piece that you mentioned, is that a course or a degree of sorts that, like, together the two of you have built it? Arq and Swinburne have built it. Like, could I go and do it? Can anyone go and do it, or is it?
You could, to some extent. So we've we've taken exclusivity over a period of time to get it started. But basically, what the universities are doing globally is they're working on things called micro units. So they're really trying to be really smart around how people like to be educated, because education is changing rapidly as well. So for corporates, we don't like to go back to uni and you probably would have gone back and done, what are your financial planning, what do they call it, the CFA or something like that.
You go into economics and all that stuff.
All that sort of stuff. Or people go back and do their MBA and, you spend 3 or 4 days a week fully studying, need time off work, it's intense, whatever. So they tried to challenge that and they came up with something called a micro unit. And to me, a micro unit's like doing a technology certification. It's that size, bite-size chunk. So what we've done is we've put enough micro units together to create a graduate certificate in digital and technology, basically. We're the first group to go through it. We call it the Arqademy, and we can offer it to other people in there, but effectively at Swinburne, that's our specific incarnation of it. And that will feed onto the master's degree. So so at the moment it's exclusive, but we can have other people, and they probably will over time as well have something similar.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think it's the corporate's responsibility in Australia to make sure we keep the education going. So we're trying to hopefully lead that charge. Everyone talks about, it'd be really great to allow people to do blah, 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 but they don't do it. So we're allowing our staff to do it.
Yeah, good on you. As you said, kind of this message over and over and over, the first to do something, you seem to be the first to be doing this as well.
Yeah.
And I guess you also shared something the other day about how quickly things are growing for you at the moment. I guess with all this building, the various technology bits and pieces that you've kind of elaborated on, 80-odd staff or so you've put on. So how many people have you got at the moment?
So we're just on, I think we either just about to crack 400 again. We were up a couple of years ago over 500 in the enterprise business. So we have about 800 in Arq Group in total. But so about 400 odd consultants almost. And it's a good group of people that we're growing. It's interesting. I think 70 of them have started since COVID. So they haven't been into an office.
Yeah.
So kind of
They're going
remote.
to help deliver to their house and
Yeah, we've got a really good service provider called Apple, who do home delivery, which is awesome. So sometimes the choice of technology and cloud and stuff has made things a bit easier. But it's amazing. 80 people, and that's with impact as well. Like we've done, one of our major customers was Qantas, and we had quite a few people on Qantas Jetstar doing a lot of digital stuff. So yeah, we lost a bit of work there because of the travel market's decimated at the moment. And we've grown beyond it, but it's digital growth. It's also just to focus on what we're doing at the moment. So we're having a decent year from that perspective.
Yeah, good one. All right.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, that's it. Well, that's all I had for you, Tristan. Thank you for joining me. Mina just left a couple of extra comments in there. So there's been a few people kind of in and out watching, 3, 4, 5 people. So a few people coming through, and hopefully a few more might catch the replay as it sits there on LinkedIn and wherever else it is at the moment. Thank you for joining me. Really important business, and I love to keep up with what you're up to.
Yeah, good. I'll make sure I have something new for you next time.
Yeah. Thanks, Tristan.
Okay.